Today I've got Bill Mervin here, branch manager, Annie Mac Home Loans out in Jersey and Philly metro area. And one of the things Bill and I've always talked about, and that I think he does a phenomenal job at, is something he calls the power of great partnerships. And so we want him to talk a little bit today. Bill, thanks for coming on the show. And I guess let me start in real quick with Bill did 247 units last year and on pace to do the same this year, right? So his partnership approach is really working. And I want to start out asking Bill is like, what do you really think a great partnership is? Like, I mean, I think that's the foundation for everything that we're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Regan. Thanks for having me, first of all. And yeah, absolutely. This is something that you and I have chatted about plenty, and it's near and dear to my heart as far as how we want to grow our business. And, we think that, just to give you a little background on our position, we think that, we've had some good years behind us, and, it's allowed kind of the status quo to kind of, do what it does. And, if a person was picking up the phone and getting your deals to the table, without too much hassle, that was kind of the benchmark, the gold standard, so to speak. And I think during any period, that really should be the bare minimum. I think a lot of people talk about that like it's, the end all be all, but we really think that that's kind of just doing our jobs. And we think that a true partnership where we link arms with our realtor teams and our realtor partners, as opposed to having outstretched hands, is really necessary. And we certainly think in a shifting market that's more critical than ever, and just kind of necessary for the progression of where things are going. The value of it, I think that not to go too broad here, but I think that a predominant theme in our industry right now is, let's face it, there's a lot of people both on the real estate side and on the mortgage side trying to disrupt our industries, right? That's potentially biting into market share or squeezing the margins. And I've said it this way, that I think that there has been complacency in our industries. It's become more about recruiting. It's been more about prospecting on the real estate side, and in the mortgage side, it's been a numbers game. And I think that many people have gotten away from, being true professionals, true experts in their field, and continuing to try to add value. And when that happens, I think that the bar has been lowered. At least the median in each of our industries has come down. And I think it's critical for our survival to raise the bar again, to be on the real estate side, to be viewed as a true professional that knows the inventory, that knows the, what's going on, in terms of the different municipalities and what might be coming up that might affect them, whatever that is, those types of areas. And on the lending side, it's being a true advisor, right? A true consultant who's helping manage the largest, financing that most people do in the context of their overall financial picture, rather than just being transactional and spitting out an interest stream. And I think that's critical to bring it home is that if all we do is a mediocre job, right, then these disruptors, these tech plays, they're going to come in and they can do a mediocre job and do it cheaper, right? But I don't believe that that's good for the consumer. I don't believe that just having kind of a status quo experience is good for the consumer in what amounts to such a large transaction. So I feel that collectively we need to raise the bar in order to serve the consumer, and I think to survive in the changing market. And I don't think that that's possible without a close partnership between real estate and lending. I had a conversation. I tell this kind of as an anecdotal story, but it was funny. I was sitting down with a realtor last week, I kid you not, and I told him this story. And in fact, his fiance was a top surgeon in New Jersey, and he laughed at this. So I'll tell you, if you're a top surgeon, and if somebody comes in for a serious surgery, and the anesthesiologist does a poor job, right, then good luck getting, even if the result of the surgery comes out good luck getting that person to repeat that experience or to refer other people into that experience, right? And he told me, he goes, it's funny you say that, because my fiance is a surgeon, and she talks about how sometimes the anesthesiologist messes up, the person wakes up in the middle of the surgery, and we had a laugh about it. But it's the fact of the matter is that people don't know where we begin and the real estate, where the real estate ends and where we begin. And even if they come in with their own lender, if that experience isn't world class from beginning to end, good luck getting that those people to repeat that experience as repeat clients and refer additional clients. It's really going to make that much more difficult. So it starts with the partnership and integrating the experience from beginning to end. It starts with that, but it's much deeper that in terms of actually partnering and rolling up the sleeves in actually generating the business as well. So I don't know how far you want me to dive into that, but
so I mean, I guess one of the things that you said that really hits home with me is, too many lenders have the outstretched arms, like, give me loans, I want your referrals, and you're more about linking arms, like integrating and becoming part of your real estate partner's team.
Yep.
And when we say, well, what's the value of that? Well, obviously, most lenders and most originators say the value is that they close on time, but you're saying that should be the bare minimum, right? And the industry's kind of lowered the bar a lot as far as expectations. You're saying that the value is by you integrating in their team, by the real estate agent referring you and you working with that client and giving them an awesome experience, that realtor's business is going to grow. That realtor's business is going to get more referrals and repeat clients and things along those lines. Is that really kind of where you're seeing the value of a strong partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really what it's about. Because if it's not, I'll get your deals to the table on time and pick up your calls. It's, let me split this marketing spend with you. I mean, it's just so one-dimensional. Where what we do is it starts from, so first of all, we create a system that starts at prospect phase through closing and post-closing to help our partners craft, refine, and actually execute with them on a past client, follow-up system to stay in touch with them consistently in a way that's not just staying in touch and saying, hey, do you have any leads for referrals for me, but to bring value to those clients and obviously create as many opportunities to serve them again in the future or to serve their friends and family, and of course get that business back to our realtor partners. So that's one area. Another area is I think going back to hyperlocal is really critical. So we embrace a team model. We have taken the various segments of the mortgage loan officer's job role and we've broken it out. And so we have two people on the front end whose job it is to partner with our agents to help them grow their business. So there's a lot of hyperlocal marketing initiatives that we're doing, and quite frankly, we'll partner with them, with the agents to get better recognition and to be more enmeshed in the local marketplace that they're serving through a number of things that we do.
Let me ask you this: so we've got, here's the value that a partnership is. Here's what it brings when you're meeting with a real estate agent. So let's say we've got an originator watching today, and they're like, okay, it's making sense. I'm getting it. I need to be more of a partner. Bring this value to the agents to grow their business, not just getting a deal done or being a transactional type person. What does a first meeting look like, right? I mean, you have a real estate agent, you've been connected with them some way or another. That first meeting, what is that first meeting? And do you just do one meeting? Do you do multiple meetings? Or just kind of walk me through real quickly what originators in your mind should be doing to kind of relay this value of the partnership?
I guess it depends how the introduction was made, but I can tell you that I have, and I wrote a blog about it recently, which is I've really embraced it. I think somebody knows when you're being genuine when you're talking about things besides mortgage and besides business, and when it's you're following the old let me connect personally and then move on to some business. And so I think the first and foremost thing is authenticity, right? So if it's all business and we're gonna make some small talk, I think people can sense that. But frankly, the relationships that we've had the most progress with in the last 12 months or so, since we've really been embracing this model, I do a lot of talking personally, right? Not just personally about kids and stuff like that, but just talking about what I want for my business, what I want for my team. We certainly have been focusing on team leaders, because what I find is that there's a large segment of top producers and team leaders who are having success in business, but it might be coming at the lack of balance in their personal life. So, and I think that people are hungry for that. So our whole model is built on giving our team that type of freedom, and we want to also help them grow so that they can have that same type of freedom for themselves and their team members. So a lot of times we're talking about that, right? Because anybody can sit there and talk about, not only getting their deals done, but anybody can also talk about helping them generate business, perhaps. But there's not a whole lot of people that is kind of diving a little bit deeper and talking about, like, what's the meaning of doing all this beyond just closing business? Because to me, if you have success in one area and you don't have balance in your life, it's really meaningless. And there's going to be some agents who are going to be like, this is way too touchy-feely for me. This is not what I'm going for. And that's okay, because that's not my target market.
It goes back to the authenticity, right? Because I've always been a believer of, not just the authenticity, because I do believe in that, but I've always believed, and when I look at the cross sections of my referral partners, like, we become friends.
Yep.
And so if this is the way you're approaching it and somebody's not into that, you're probably not going to be friends anyway. And those partnerships don't last. They're not strong. Yep. It's being involved with people that you actually can get close to personally. I feel like identifying that early on is a big part of this partnership, right? It's not referral sources. And I think a lot of originators look at real estate agents as a referral source. And there's a difference between that and a partner, because partners, you guys have to be in tune. And that's across the board, like you said.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And, I've had times where I've put that to the test, right? I think a lot of people give lip service to, I want to be, I want to have aligned values, and, they say these things that sound good, but then, you put a producer that does a lot of business in front of them that maybe they don't have those same values, they don't connect like that, and they don't necessarily embrace that. And, I've been trying to encourage my team that, listen, if it's like, I had this great meeting and, it sounded like we had all these connections in business, but I don't get where we're not connecting. And I said, look, that's just be comfortable with the fact that we're not going to please everybody, and what we do isn't going to please everybody. But we've had enough test cases at this point of the people that are like, I get 20 calls from mortgage people a week or a month or whatever it is, and nobody's talking about this. And this is something that really hits home to me, and that's who we're going for. And so every time we find one of those people that doesn't resonate with that, that's fine. Right, that's fine. And then maybe there'll be a point in their life where they'll come around and they want more of that in their life, and maybe they'll be right for us in the future. But we've been embracing that, and trying to live by that, and we've had good results. So we do that, right? And then we'll talk about. So then we'll have those conversations when we can, and then in those conversations, part of, right, it's like if we identify the problem, which is lack of balance and so on and so forth, then our solution to that is this team model that we do to really, truly collaborate and partner with our team members. And we talk about how that can be used to give them that same freedom and those same results. And so we'll really then just touch on high level some of these ideas and some of these various things that, I started talking about. We don't have time to go into all of them, but we have these various things that we do to partner and collaborate with. And then some of those ideas, people are going to be like, that's not for me. That's not right for me. But they're going to identify a few of them that they think that would immediately have an impact on their business. And then typically on a second meeting, we have this Power of Great Partnerships presentation. We'll pull the ones into it that they've expressed the most interest in. And then we will, we'll talk about rolling them out together. And then what I like to do with the team leaders, and we've been gravitating towards team, is meet, perhaps some cases once a month or once a quarter, to then some of those ideas, it's not that they don't like them, it's just not now. And then we'll revisit and partner kind of once a month or once a quarter to continually try to revise the business plan and integrate more and more of these things into their systems together.
So really, I kind of and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's like you're identifying somebody, you're having that first meeting, you're saying, are we in line value-wise, what we're looking to do? You take some notes, you get an idea of exactly what, you might have this big list of things that you can do for your partners, and they may only have 5 or 6 things resonate. So then your second meeting is when you're going over how you can apply those 5 or 6 with your agent.
Yep.
And after you get that up and running and rolling, then you're going to revisit some other things to see if you kind of want to add to the equation, essentially building a business plan for the two of you to work together. Is that a good summary?
It's a great summary. And in fact, that's, again, we only got into so many of the bullet points, but, that's what a true collaborative partnership. So I have a partner that I'm meeting with next Saturday, right? We're blocked off 3 to 4 hours on a Saturday, and we're going through our 2019 business plan together. And 100%, there's things on his business plan that are completely related to him and his team, but it's great to have an outside input, right? It's great to have outside input on this. And vice versa, I'm going to have things on my business plan that he's a very successful business plan. I want to get his input on. But then just as importantly, each of us have a goal of integrating our teams further, right? And getting a little bit of the 2 + 2 = 6 effect of working together and amplifying our results, leveraging our results. And so then we're going to talk about what are the different initiatives that we want to put in place together throughout 2019 to better serve the clients and to grow our teams together. And then we will get together again on a quarterly basis and then say, okay, what is there things we need to add, subtract, and obviously keep up on and refine it. But that's just an example, yes. So then whether it's again, this just happens to be great business planning time, but yeah, then we'll come together and we'll create a kind of a launch plan of what are the things that we want to do now and what are the things that we want to revisit in the future, and then constantly be working together to make sure that we're being as effective as possible and growing the partnership.
Well, and I kind of want to, we don't want these things to be too long. I think you've added a lot of value and given a really good perspective, because a lot of new originators I talk to or we hire and I help coach and train and teach, the thing is they don't understand when they're following up with agents after they've had a meeting what they're following up with. They say, do you have any buyers that I can pre-approve? They're essentially always asking for something, and pretending like staying in touch is really adding value. That's really not adding value. The value is coming in from building businesses together, integrating together. I mean, all these things that you kind of went over. And again, we don't have time today to go into, every single thing. Would be on here for an hour and a half, but it kind of is an approach. And I think if you're an originator out there, and Bill, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's when you talk with an agent, they've heard the same pitch probably 100 times. And so when you start talking about partnering, which they've probably actually heard before, because partnering is a pretty common word and a commonly used word, it goes a little bit deeper. And I really feel like with what you've done and the strength and the strong relationships you've built, it's kind of impervious to rates, right? I mean, whether rates are 3.5% or they're 6%, you guys are still partnered. And it's really more about how many home sales is that real estate agent working with. So I think the final piece that I would want to touch on here before we wrap up is in what would be considered a relatively down market, right? And rates are up and things are going down. You don't have this bleak outlook, neither do I, that a lot of people have. And I guess my question is, what would you attribute that to? Is that just because you have such strong partnerships, or is it because the people you've aligned yourself with, or it's just your business plan as a whole? I'd really be curious on that.
Yeah. So, I'm naturally an optimist, right? And I think that we attract what we think about. And so, I try to keep a positive outlook regardless. But I genuinely have a positive outlook. And, I think that when the market shifts, so I think that the market we've had, it covers up a lot of sins, right?
Yeah.
And I mean that, people were doing an okay job and still doing very well. Because the market kind of just allowed for that. And I think that in volatile markets, or let's call it, because we're not quite down right now, we're seeing a shift, but we're not down. I know the coastal areas and some of the big cities are seeing a different dynamic than we are currently. But the market, any way you want to look at it, the market is turning. Right. Yep. And I think that just like an up market will cover a lot of sins, I think a down market will expose them. Right. And so there's never been a period of time. I just look back at, the financial crisis and people that, maintained through it and grew their business through it. And the fact of the matter is that there's always going to be people buying and selling homes and financing homes. When there's the initial phases of the volatility, it can be tough because everybody's kind of scrambling, trying to grab onto whatever they can because they want to stay alive. But even though the pie might shrink, the amount of people eating at the pie once the dust settles is going to be smaller. So I see volatility as an opportunity to gain market share. And I think it plays right into the hands of the people that run the best practices, because at the end of the day, there's going to be opportunities to outperform. And again, that's why we're positioning ourselves the way that we are, because frankly, it's not just one dimensional. We're going to help the realtors gain market share, and we believe that they're going to help us gain market share by really creating an experience for both prospecting and for our clientele that allow us to stand out from the competitors. And when that happens, I think that ultimately, again, it's going to create a lot of opportunities. So I'm excited to go out there and to maybe take some business away from some of the people that, quite frankly, have been doing a mediocre job. But when there's a lot of business all coming in the door, nobody seems to care. But now it's different, and I think that you got to really get together with some key people and attack the market together.
Yeah. Well, and Bill, kind of one last thing that I've really been thinking about, and I've told a lot of people that I talk with and coach with, it's too many times as markets change, and I've been through 3 cycles of these already. As the market shifts, people start chasing business. They're chasing it. They're calling leads 7, 8, 9, 10 times when in the past they would maybe call them once or twice, right? Because they're just trying to get anything. But rather than using that time to chase leads or go way outside the box and do loan programs that you've never really done, or they're not comfortable, or you don't think, and you're like, well, it's just a coin toss. If it closes, let's try it, because you're not busy. The thing that I feel like, use that time to do what you just said, build your business, right? Any of these sins that have been exposed because of the market shift, use this time rather than chasing, use this time to fix those things. Because when you come out of that, you're going to have a better business plan. You're going to have a business plan that's going to be successful. And so, Bill, is there anything else you want to add? We can kind of wrap up and get it out to everybody on social media. I'm assuming, I'm going to tag you in it. So if people have questions or want to talk to you directly, or even in your area that are not getting this type of support from their current managers, I'm assuming it's okay to reach out social media wise, all that kind of stuff. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're selective about who we let into our team, but we're always looking to grow it with the right people that share our philosophies, for sure.
Yeah, perfect. Well, awesome, guys. Feel free to share it with your colleagues, like it, comment below, and we'll see you guys here next time.
Thanks, Regan.